Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 1st. Let's get going. Ryoji didn't come to school today, and the Dalek seated next to me is giving me a guilty look. I ignored this crisis in favor of getting coffee with Chihiro.
Sup, dude?
Junpei points out that the full moon is tomorrow, but there's no shadow to fight, so he feels a little restless. After a short shopping trip, I end the day by whacking some moles with Black Frost. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 2nd, and it's a full moon. Funnily enough, I decided on a whim to try and get my helmet from Ono-sensei, and wouldn't you know it? At Art Club, we found out Wozniak-san won a prize, meaning he doesn't have to follow in his father's footsteps anymore. We go to celebrate, and the club advisor suggests that Scooter might get to study abroad before another club member collapses and he's off to heal leprosy. Fuka tells me to go on ahead, but somehow beats me back to the dorm to ask if I've seen the dorm bicycle. After a brief search, I give up in favor of the arcade. The reason I couldn't find the PS5 was she was hunting Ryoji down. Confronted at the Moonlight Bridge, Ryoji shed some light on his backstory. He's actually the 13th Shadow, Death, and he fought the anti-shadow weapon 10 years ago. Unluckily enough, I happened to be on the bridge that night, and Brainiac 8 thought it would be a great idea to seal Death inside of a 6-year-old. They fight again, resulting in a
double KO.
Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 3rd. Let's get going. Mitsuru comes to us during lunch to tell us Ryoji's awake, and that we're having a meeting about last night.
Damn that Ryoji.
On the 4th floor, we basically recap last night, with a few new morsels to take in. Ryoji says the shadows are here to facilitate the rebirth of a being called Nyx, their mommy, and some ancient incarnation of death itself. If this Nyx were to be reborn, everyone would develop apathy syndrome and cease to exist. Yukari says there's gotta be a way to stop it, and Yuri Lowenthal proves his worth as an actor.
I'm sorry.
Before telling us there's a way out. If I, kill him, we could delay this so-called fall, and we would all forget that the Dark Hour exists, and return to normal life. Ryoji gives us 28 days to make a decision, and evaporates as he leaves. Faced with this heavy decision, I go to Mutatsu-san to clear my head. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 4th. Let's get going. It's Friday, but I can't find Fuka, so after making sure I didn't accidentally reverse her social link, I decided to turn today into Liz Mission Friday. I start by hunting down some Odin juice, which Liz comments is warm. I then water the plants on the roof of the school, and Liz implies she has something she wants to grow too. I head to the station to clean the bathroom, where I have to equip a scrub brush to help. I also spend 8 minutes hunting for this dehydrated girl that really wants Cielo Mist. I spend another 8 minutes looking for this godforsaken soda, only to find out it's only in the dorm vending machines. I decide instead to take Liz on a date, this time to my room. We sit down on the bed and reminisce about all our past dates, then Liz makes her move.
I'd like you
I did it. I like
to
older
guide me
women
through
now.
it.
After Liz tells me to keep this a secret, I decide to pull a fortune for Chihiro, mash my face against the vending machine for 4 real-life minutes, and play whack-a-mole with Black Frost. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 5th. Let's get going. I spent some time in the library with Chihiro. She'll definitely rank up next time, Shaggy. For sure. I get back to the dorm and find that everyone is kind of listless. Mitsuru seems out of it and introspective, Fuka's depressed and seeking comfort, and I have exactly 0 patience for all of this. Exuding nothing but confidence, I hang with Mutatsu-san for the final time. He's found his wife. Apparently his son is married with a child on the way too, so I guess their lives never stopped while his did. He acknowledges this, even going so far as to thank me for reminding him of his son. I max my bond with Master Roshi, and he hands me an alcohol label, before telling me he hopes my life is like the best alcohol he's ever had, as he walks off with his head held high. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 6th. Let's get going. In a surprise twist of events, I decide not to purchase Tanaka's wares today. Why buy name brand items if the world's just gonna end? Speaking of apathy, I find that dehydrated girl and hand her the discontinued sodas. Liz even says I could become a detective. I decide to spend some time with Akinari today, like every Sunday, and he seems to be in worse shape than before. Apparently, he stopped taking his meds, because they make him drowsy, and he's afraid of not being able to finish his book. He says that he can't write an ending, because he doesn't know the meaning of life. In my opinion, the meaning of life is to live, which I do immediately after leaving Akinari. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 7th. Let's get going. Miss Onishi reminds us that final exams are next week, and you know what that means. Get your questions down in those comments for our final Q&A of the year. Since all the cool people are busy with exams, I decided now is the best time to make sure everyone is ready to rank up after exams, starting of course with a fortune for Fuka. I get back, and said Fook tries to cheer me up, and I surprise her with a thank you. With nothing much to do at night anymore, I decide to hit up Game Panic to make the strongest Black Frost known to man. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 8th. Let's get going. Another boring day without the fun social links begins. After class, I wonder if I might be able to max out Maiko's social link before the new year, and realize I might not be able to. Oh well, at least we get to see her freeze in place at the bottom of the slide. I get back to the dorm, and get a little sad no one greeted me, before ultimately running over to Game Panic to continue my Black Frost juicing plan. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 9th. Let's get going. Today we get another reminder that exams are coming next week, and that you should ask your questions in the comments today. Maybe ask what I would bring with me to a deserted island, as I go talk to the crying baby, who apparently hasn't run away from home yet, and she suggests I bring my health insurance card. Honey, I'm American. Those are expensive.
Oh, hey!
An actual greeting! After being the entire dorm's emotional support system, I once again inject Black Frost with Persona Growth Hormone. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 10th. Let's get going. On the way into school, Mitsuru-senpai tells me that there's finally going to be content this week. I get so excited I decide to show you all my Black Frost. Look at those stats. I make my way to the shrine, fuck you, to pull a fortune for Yukari, before heading back to the meeting. It's been a week since our Ryoji revelation, and Yukari thinks it's time for us to stop moping around and start exploring Tartarus. I agree. I have missions due, and don't want to miss out on them. Yukari starts to tease Junpei for being scared of the impending doom, and it sets him off, causing him to blame me for all of this happening in the first place. He apologizes, and drops some Junpei lore, talking about his alcoholic father. Mitsuru takes a stand and commands everyone to act as normal. Does this mean I get to go to Tartarus? I end the night with a punching bag for Black Frost. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 11th. Let's get going. Ms. Toriumi gives us a reminder that exams are in 3 days. Then she proceeds to lecture us on proper plural forms. Junpei gets caught in the crossfire, and my need to prove my intelligence outweighs the humor of Junpei looking stupid. After class, I pray at the Little Inari Shrine, which I guess has random effects because it boosted Akihiko's mood. Tartarus time. With no Yukari or Airfryer-chan, I'm forced to level up the boys and fight some Jingle Dice. This boss is all about working around Tetrakarn. Unfortunately, there's no Tetra Hammers, at least I think, so we're forced to use up a turn to break the Reflect. Double unfortunate is the fact that the boss moves immediately after me, allowing it to set the shield back up. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to this boss's patterns, as it can provoke us into attacking it, or just throw a party-wide nuke at us for the fun of it. After 6 attempts, I decide on dropping Koro for Junpei, and a strategy revolving around Revolution and Apt Pupil.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back!
We level up twice, and Fuka learns Warp. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 12th. Let's get going. We have a contender for shortest day of the year. Remember, exams start in 2 days, so tomorrow's the last day you can ask questions in the comments if you want them answered in video. For today's activities, it's a classic Maiko and Lucky Fortune Day. Take care. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 13th. Let's get going. I wake up to what may be the most impressive offer from Tanaka to date, an Omega Drive, an accessory that increases your crit rate. I could care less what the mind supplements do, it's an instant buy for me. It's Sunday, so it's time to increase my son's social link. Akinari says I should congratulate him on being free. When I ask what he's free from, he says the hospital let him out, as he was too weak for the required surgeries. It's a somber moment, us sitting side by side on that bench, and Akinari tells me he's realized that everyone is waiting for death, just for different lengths of time. He says he wants to remember my face, and as I take my leave, he tells me his story's almost finished, and he wants to make sure I read it. I vent my frustration with life into the punching bag at Game Panic. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 14th. Let's get going. While nothing may have changed for you guys, I actually just got back from a trip to visit some friends. Let's just roll right into the Q&A, shall we? Ducks in my head asks what the best thing is that happened to me this year was, and double whammies me by asking something I want to do next year. The best thing this year is definitely hitting 1,000 subscribers. It's indescribable how grateful I am. For next year, I want to work on professionalizing the channel. I feel like it's a little bare bones, so I'm working behind the scenes to get stuff like banners, channel art, and other cool stuff made to make my content feel more professional. Noah Lara asks what my favorite Christmas song is, and I think it has to go to Skank for Christmas by Real Big Fish. Highly recommend you listen to this while eating some mozzarella sticks. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 15th. Let's get going. Today's question comes from Squance, who asks what my credit card number is. It's 1. They actually ask my opinion on Junpei's character development, and I've gotta say, he really was a diamond in the rough. It really hit seeing him go from the cocky, self-assured, lackadaisical broski to willing to be vulnerable and open about himself. It's the closest the series gets to writing growth outside of social links, in my opinion. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 16th. Let's get going. Our Q&A continues with someone who actually followed the instructions. Honey the Low Poly, presumably Cat, asks what I would bring with to a deserted island. Unlike Maiko, I have knowledge of the world, and if I was allowed to bring one thing with me, it would probably be a survivalist book, with instructions on how to craft things. I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but I'm good at following directions, and if I desperately need anything, I'd prefer it if I could procure it myself. If I had to pick something else, it would be a set of jingling keys to amuse myself. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 17th. Let's get going. Today we have a really interesting question from Shaggy, asking about my favorite game of all time. It's really hard for me personally to pick one that stands above everything else. A lot of the games I like I enjoy for different reasons. If I had to give an unordered top 5, remember, unordered, it would consist of Kingdom Hearts 2, Dragon Quest Builders 2, Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2, depending on how I'm feeling that day, Persona 5 Base, and Harvest Moon Magical Melody, all for very different reasons. All of them are for sure nostalgia, and the cozy feeling I get when I play them. I don't really like to judge games on their objective merits when it comes to listing them in a top 5, because what matters most is how the game makes me feel. All of these I've replayed countless times, save for P5 Base, as Royal is a better version, but there's something to be said about the raw emotion I felt when I completed P5 for the first time. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 18th. Let's get going. Our final question for exams comes from Fishman573, who asks my personal preference in weapons. Overall, I'd pick a bow and arrow, but for close range, I'd like a staff or a lance. I've always wanted to learn archery, and the agility and deftness needed to wield a lance or staff is something I've always wanted to have. What I'm trying to say is, I like dexterity weapons. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 19th. Let's get going. I'd like to thank you once again for all your questions for the Q&A. I used to be one of those people that hated it when the YouTuber was over the top with being grateful, but I kinda understand it now with the amount of support I've been getting. Without further ado, it's time to fuck Chihiro. We head to her house, where I guess I get to sit on a cushion on the floor while she stands above me and stares down at me. She says she bought those illustration books after blowing her whole allowance. Before I can tell her she's about to blow something else, she hands me a shoujo manga by the same artist.
So no head?
I go to leave, but Chihiro stops me and says she's worried about being assaulted tonight. It's such a weird way to ask your boyfriend for sex, but whatever. After doing the deed, I go to walk Koromaru, and fuck me. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 20th. Let's get going. We get a little lesbian action in Yukari's room. Mitsuru visits her to talk about the big decision, and while Yukari's more focused on the impending doom, Mitsuru says she's resolved to take over the company after she graduates. The scene almost passes the Bechdel test, but Yukari decides to mention me and her theory that I'm immortal. After speaking the most profound words this game has to offer,
Honestly, it doesn't matter whether or not we die. All that matters is that we're proud of how we lived.
I hit up morning shopping to purchase the apocalypse. On my way to visit Akinari, I run into the Fu Christmas tree. I meet with Akinari, and he tells me he's finished the story. The pink alligator was so depressed after eating his friend that he cried himself to death. Those tears became a beautiful lake that all the animals in the forest visit. Akinari says that the reason he wrote this ending is because he realized that the meaning of one's life isn't for them to find, but rather what others think of it. I'm thoroughly stunned by this. It's extremely poetic. He hands me his notebook, thanks me for everything I've done, and leaves us forever. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's December 21st. Let's get going. Exam results were posted today, and as expected I was top of class. You really don't need to get all the right answers to do this, huh? Edogawa steps in to teach us a bit of Japanese magical history. Apparently magic is so ingrained in the culture because at the founding of the country in several important eras, there were people who claimed to be magicians that practiced rituals so secret we don't even know what they did. Neat stuff. After class, I decided to do some Christmas shopping with Yukari, and just before we finish up, she gets a phone call from her skank mother. Apparently she's remarrying, and Yukari gets super heated about it. She's sending conflicting messages though, as she says running from your problems is the worst thing you can do, but she also wants to move away from her mother. Women, am I right? I decide it's best if I walk Koromaru tonight. At least he understands me. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 22nd. Let's get going. Edogawa's subbing again today, and he gives us an impromptu lesson on near-death experiences. An odd subject, but fitting for the week we're having. One interesting tidbit is the new theory of near-death, where if someone denies that they're dying, they become angry at the inevitability, before ultimately becoming depressed and accepting their fate. At lunch, I'm reminded of my favorite Nintendo console reviewer, and I quickly follow him to the art club. After art club, me and the old Wii U apologist have a meeting on the roof, where he tells me his dad encouraged him to study abroad. He's confused though, as his dad was the one who wanted him to quit in the first place. He seems stuck with some form of choice paralysis, and after a little venting, he thanks me for existing. He offers me a ride back to the dorm from his driver. Wait, you're like rich? What the fuck? I walk Koromaru with Fucka, and she not so subtly implies that she wants to spend Christmas together. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 23rd. Let's get going. It's the Emperor's birthday, so we don't have school. Ken and Akihiko meet in the alley, with him asking Ken why he didn't visit his mother's grave. Ken says there's more that needs to be done before he can go see her, and Aki agrees, saying he needs to make his decision before he can talk to Shinjiro. They both resolve to look this unbeatable opponent in the face, and my respect for them is magnified. On the other hand, I hang with something I don't really respect, before ultimately taking Koromaru on a walk with Yukari. She springs a trap on me, playing tsundere and suggesting she wants to spend Christmas together. But I'm sorry guys, I think there's only one girl in my heart. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 24th. Let's get going. It's Christmas Eve and I've only wrapped 2 freaking presents. During class, I get blueballed into thinking there's going to be a lesson about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but instead it's just bland discussion about cultural differences. After class, I get a text. Now Lewis, I understand that Fuuka's your favorite, but as I said yesterday, I only have eyes for one woman. 2 if you count Chihiro, but I don't. Funami actually guessed it right. I decided to spend Christmas Eve with Yuko. We head to Polonia to take a gander at the Christmas decorations. After a bit of walking and flirting, we sit down, and Yuko asks if I want my present. She says she's my present this year, but before I can unwrap her, she hands me a medicated patch that her grandma taught her how to make. I respond in kind with a bouquet of roses, but I guess it was just too cliche for her. She tells me about how Christmas always just felt like another day to her, but she's happy that this year it feels different. We spend the night huddled under the Christmas lights. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 25th. Merry Christmas, everyone. For our Christmas Friday, we celebrate with a Fuuka Friday. Fuuka and I meet on the roof, and she tells me she wants to try making more than just rice balls. I feel like she's subtly trying to talk about something else, and she asks if I'll stay by her side, to help her learn new recipes, of course. I pretend I don't know what her intentions are, and tell her, of course. I mean, it would kind of be awkward around the dorm otherwise. She really likes to run away, though. Back at the dorm, Akihiko reminds us that there's an impending doom, and I get disappointed I can't take the best boy out for a walk on Christmas. Instead, I go whack some Christmas moles at Game Panic. Yee-ho! Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 26th. Let's get going. We still have school today, even though it's the last day of the semester. It really pays to be top of the class though, as I sleep through Toriumi's ramblings. After school, Yukari and I head to the strip mall to hang out, but Yukari can't find her wallet. She says she probably dropped it back at the station, and tells me to wait right here while she goes to get it. The game tries to trick me into following her, but she told me to wait.
I'm waiting!
Finally, the game has enough of me being obedient and forces me to follow her anyway. And it's a good thing it did, because Yukari's surrounded by punks. At this point I can't wait any longer, and proceed to beat some ass. She seems appreciative, but lays into me for helping and not just waiting for her. She's obviously shaking, and the game gives me another hug prompt, which I promptly choose. Of course it's the wrong answer, and Yukari reverses. She runs home, and I shrug, choosing to spend my night walking Koromaru. I get the feeling he's made his decision. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 27th. Let's get going. Junpei's reminiscing on his time with Chidori, when Fuka spots him. She walks over to see what he's up to, and they have a small conversation about how much they've both matured over the past year. Junpei says Fuka's become more confident, and she says Junpei's become more open and vulnerable, in a good way. They both have come to their decision as well. While they were having character growth, I was busy buying a silver plate. I take some time to recognize that it's my first Sunday without Akinari, then pull a fortune to try and repair my relationship with Yukari. It works, at the cost of exhausting me and stealing $50. Before bed, I walk Koromaru with Junpei. He tells me about his event with Fuka today, even going so far as to call her and the girls tough. Koromaru hears this and runs over, wanting to be called tough too. All three of us head back to the dorm. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 28th. Let's get going. Since we're on winter break, I can't hang with any of the team, so I decided to try and finish Maiko before we all die. Yippee. She says she's finally running away after 3 social link ranks of talking about it, reminding me not to tell her parents where she goes. As soon as she walks off, her parents appear. They start arguing and tell me they haven't seen Maiko since this morning. Her mom accuses me of being a diddler like I thought she would, but little does she know I'm actually a Rizzler. They ask if I have any idea where she could be, and I think long and hard about it, remembering the time she stole my lunch. We head to Octopia and see Maiko sitting outside, and her mom starts laying into her. I guess we finally know why they're getting a divorce, as her dad is more level-headed and apologizes for dragging me into their family business. I shrug, and they leave to go resolve their issues, while I go play video games with Black Frost. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 29th. Let's get going. It's a pretty short day, all things considered. I ignore Maiko in favor of making sure Fuka's doing well, and head home.
Sup, dude?
Junpei reminds me that Ryoji will be visiting us soon, and he restates his intention to kill the unkillable, row, fight the power. After that rousing pep talk, I walk Koromaru, figuring it's better to relax before the big day. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 30th. Let's get going. Yukari knocks on my door and lets me know that the waffle maker's coming back from the shop tonight, so we're having a meeting. I can't wait to have my favorite toy back, so I rush out for a fortune so we can get to the good stuff. I get back to the dorm to find Android 21's returned. Everyone tells her we were worried about her, but she replies by saying she's a machine and could have just been rebuilt. Avoiding the obvious Black Mirror-esque implications, the Steel Angel apologizes for sealing death within me, but I tell her she did the right thing. She can't cope with the group's decision, and asks us to kill Ryoji tomorrow. Pretty much everyone agrees that isn't happening, and Rosie has a mental breakdown.
I'm useless.
Junpei and Fuka step up, telling her she has to find her own purpose, and Mitsuru agrees, saying that sometimes your purpose in life changes, and that accepting change is what it means to live. Hatsune Miku makes a promise.
I will be with you all.
Aigis' resolve grants her an evolution of her persona, transforming Palladian into Athena. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's December 31st. Let's get going. I'm too antsy to do anything important today, so after blowing off some steam at GP, I head back to the dorm. Ryoji's returned, and I'm finally ready to give him my decision. He says we have to settle this before midnight though, because he'll change into his shadow form permanently. He heads to my room to wait for me, and after reaffirming the group's decision, I follow him. We chat in my room, and he tries to convince me to kill him, but I made my decision a month ago. I chose the PS5. He panics upon hearing this, and shows me that he was Thanatos the whole time. He says I have one more chance to change my answer, but rather than finish the series now, I decided to not commit murder. We head back to the lounge, and discuss what our steps are moving forward. Ryoji says that on January 31st, 2010, Nyx will descend to the top of Tartarus, and that we'll have to meet her there. He leaves, wishing us a happy new year, and granting me the ability to summon Susanoo, and creating the Nyx Annihilation Squad.